Cardale Jones, legendary Ohio State quarterback, joining us now on the herd. He obviously led them to the national championship in 2014, a glorious game. Cardale, man, how you doing? I know you're fired up about the weekend, but I have to start. I got to start with some NFL news. You did play in the NFL. The Micah Parsons trade, I'm just going to wind you up. Go, your thoughts on the shocker out of Dallas.
Man, I think this is a prime situation, another example that Jerry Jones needs to get out of his own way. I don't know how you trade away such a dominant pass rusher, a dominant player, not just a game changer, but a game wrecker so early on in his career, and who's continuing to get better each and every year. But, you know, that's the business side of things. For whatever reason, that's above my pay grade to even understand and comprehend. I'm just speaking as a fan, and I wouldn't say a Dallas Cowboys fan, but just as a football fan in general. You see this guy right now making so many plays versus these great quarterbacks, Aiden Daniels right there. I'm not getting rid of that until I want him to be a part of my organization until the wheels fall off. And unfortunately, they couldn't come up to agreement, and now he's going to be a Packer. And hopefully Jerry Jones is going to come back and bite you in the butt.
Packers might win the Super Bowl. All right, let's get to the game. 24 hours, well, that's like 21 hours from now, you get Ohio State hosting the Texas Longhorns. Texas has a new quarterback. His name is Arch Manning. I'm sure you've heard a lot about him. You've probably seen a lot of footage. But I'm just curious, like, the scene is going to be pretty wild in Ohio, in Columbus. Do you think Arch is rattled by this at all, or being like a veteran? You know, he sat for a few years. He might not be in awe of the scene.
You know what? I wouldn't say rattled, but this is an environment that he never played in before. The few starts that he had last year was definitely versus lesser opponents, but still played at a high level. And then the limited action he saw going into games like A&M, like we see this great highlight here, and some other great environments. But now you're the guy. You're not coming in for a spark. You're going to be the guy that's going to take the first snap to the very last snap of the game. How are you going to ride that momentum? How is the environment going to have an impact on your game or your mental and things like that? Those are questions that still is unanswered right now so early in his career when it comes to his starting, taking over his tenure as starting quarterback with Texas. I'm excited for both of these young quarterbacks because there's so many unknowns for both of these guys.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Steve Spurrier, Urban Meyer, several people have now said it, like, Arch hasn't done anything. What's with this Heisman hype? Why is he the favorite to win the Heisman? Why does every mock draft have him first overall? I don't know. You're a former quarterback. You see that stuff. Do you have a take on the Arch Manning hype machine right now?
Well, I mean, I'm never jumping on anyone's hype machine unless I can see it for consistently for at least 2 years. And even if he'd have started last year, my argument with some of the hype is, and this is no knock on Arch, because I do think he's going to be a great player. I think he's going to be one of those caliber players. I don't think I'm ready to crown him that yet. But if he was this good, why didn't he start last year? Mm-hmm. And that's with all due respect to him and Quinn Ewers and everything Texas got going on. But let this guy grow into that player that we all hope him to be, not just self-proclaiming and putting that crown on his head already. No one has won these things for themselves individually more than Arch Manning. But let him go out there and kind of earn those things before we start to kind of get him and pencil him in as the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yeah, now, you were a really great quarterback on the run, I mean, from the pocket as well. But at your size, you weren't taking hits that could, knock you down. Arch Manning is not 6'5", 250. He's a big kid. But I'm just curious, his biggest strength, everybody says, is his quickness and running ability. Ohio State's got some thumpers. I'm worried. I don't think he's going to be running a lot tomorrow, right?
I don't think so. I don't think you want to expose your quarterback to too many hits, no matter how big or small they may be. You go back to the playoff game last year, the limited action Arch got versus the Buckeyes in the Cotton Bowl down in Dallas. He took a big hit in the play that he was in. And to me, as they was replaying to see if it was a fumble or not, you just saw the eyes of Arch, and I'm like, he's dinged up. So I can only imagine that for 9 or 10 more plays if you want to continue to expose him to running the ball. But he's a playmaker, though. He's a guy that Texas haven't had in a long time who can really pull the ball down and be a run threat. And also, Steve liked to dial up some design quarterback runs for us because to take advantage of his athletic ability outside of that great arm he has.
All right, let me talk Ohio State. So Jeremiah Smith, 1 catch for 3 yards in last year's meeting. They clearly were like, we got to shut this guy down. Let's stop him. I think he had just cooked Oregon the last week prior. Do you anticipate them doing something similar and saying, hey, beat us anyway except with Jeremiah Smith?
I think that's a good way to start to plan for the Buckeyes, because if you don't understand and know and have a plan for everywhere number 4 is going to be, I think you're going to set yourself up to have a long, long day on the back end and a long day on defense. They even got him the ball a few times in the run game last year. But I think you look at Ohio State and places like Ohio State, even if you find a way to limit or eliminate their number 1 threat when it comes to the offensive weapons, they got other weapons that can beat you. You look at the tight end, Max Clare, who's coming over from Purdue, projected as number 1 tight end going into this year's upcoming NFL draft after this season. Then Cardale Tate, Brandon Dennis, and the list goes on as playmakers for Ohio State. So they're in a great position. If you want to try to focus much of your energy on Jeremiah Smith, they got other guys you can look up and they be over 100 yards receiving, and then clearly breaking in some new running backs. That also helps.
All right, so Cardale, earlier we had Colt McCoy on, the Texas legend. He gave us a prediction on the game, and he's got this little video for you. Here we go. We do have Cardale Jones on the show a little later on, Ohio State quarterback, obviously won a national championship. Do you have a message for him, perhaps? And we could play it for him. And do you want to get the trash talk started? The floor is yours.
Yeah, Texas by 10. How about that, Cardale?
Surprise me. Texas by, that would be, I think that would be a stunner. But go ahead, let's hear it.
You know what, Cole? I'm going to save my trash talk for later. And we got Vince Young actually on our show, The Script OSU, here in a couple of hours, and Mac Brown. So I'm going to be talking some crap. But Cole, I'm letting you know right now, ain't no way in heck Texas leaving Columbus, Ohio, victorious. So I ain't too sure about the score yet, but long as they leave with the biggest thing, and that's that L.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like you're right. Ohio State should handle them. Colt McCoy made a good point, though. 4 new offensive linemen for Texas. Not ideal. Protecting Arch Manning, you're a huge investment.
Yeah, I totally agree. But you look on the other side of the ball as well. Ohio State got a lot of guys shuffled around and playing some different positions in the offensive line position as well. Potentially 2 new starting transfer tackles, and then breaking in some young guys with some experience from last year as well, going against Colin Simmons and that great front 7 that Texas has. So I think that's really more of a storyline for me personally. We talk about Arch, we talk about Julian Sand and Jeremiah Smith, Caleb Downs, and rightfully so. But the battle is going to be won, I think, up front. 4 new offensive linemen for Texas, and Ohio State's breaking in a whole new front 7 with guys like Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles taking over new starting roles predominantly at the linebacker position, and new guys like C.J. Higgs taking over a completely new position at that rush DN. Good stuff. Cardale Jones, national championship winning quarterback, also quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. Thanks a lot, man, and good luck with Vince Young, and keep up the good work there, buddy. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, guys. All right.